A young millionaire collapses at his wife's funeral, but a poor boy announces, "Sir, she's not dead, I know where she is," leaving everyone in panic. The rain fell mercilessly on the cemetery. Nathan Brooks stood motionless before the polished mahogany coffin, his red-rimmed eyes fixed on Emily's portrait, resting on the lid. The grey sky seemed to match the darkness overwhelming his soul. "We are gathered here to say farewell to Emily Brooks, a beloved wife, daughter and friend." The priest's words sounded distant. Nathan could barely process that he was at his own wife's funeral. Only 3 days ago she was alive. 3 days ago, he had cancelled yet another dinner with her to close a major deal. 3 days ago, he still had the chance to say he loved her. His fingers tightened around the cell phone in his suit pocket. How many of her calls had he ignored in the past months? How many messages did he answer with a simple, "I'm busy, we'll talk later"? The success of Brooks Enterprises had demanded a price that he was only now realizing was far too high. Emily always brightened our lives with her generous smile. A lie, Nathan thought. In recent months, Emily barely smiled. Their arguments had become frequent, and the silence between them deafening. He remembered their last fight, when she threw her wedding ring onto the kitchen table. "You love that company more than you love me," she had shouted. Nathan loosened his tie. The air felt too heavy to breathe. Guilt smothered him more than sorrow. He was not just mourning her death, but also the slow dying of their love, something he had allowed while he'd been too busy building an empire. People began to approach for their final goodbyes. Distant relatives, co-workers, friends he barely recognized. Each touched his shoulder, offering words of comfort that he knew he didn't deserve. "Mr. Brooks?" One of the funeral assistants approached. "We need to proceed with the burial." Nathan nodded mechanically. It was time to say goodbye forever. He stepped forward, touching the coffin with trembling fingers, when he felt someone tug at his jacket sleeve. "Sir, she's not dead. I know where she is." Nathan turned, confused. In front of him stood a skinny boy in worn-out clothes, his face dirty. He couldn't have been older than 6. "What did you say?" Nathan asked, his voice rough from crying. "Your wife. She's not dead." The boy looked around, as though afraid of being overheard. "My name's Liam. I saw her last night." Nathan felt a flash of irritation. How had this street kid gotten into the funeral? And why was he inventing such cruel stories at a time like this? "Look, kid, I don't know what kind of joke this is, but—" "It's not a joke," Liam interrupted, holding out his closed hand. "I have proof." When the boy opened his palm, Nathan's heart stopped. There, perfectly preserved, was Emily's ring. The same ring she had thrown onto the kitchen table during their last fight. The same ring Nathan hadn't found when he returned home that night, assuming she had put it away. Where did you get that?" Nathan grabbed the boy's wrist harder than he intended. She was wearing it when the man took her. Liam wasn't intimidated by Nathan's reaction. It fell to the ground. "I picked it up to give it back to her, but I couldn't keep up with the car." Nathan's mind spun. It was impossible. He had identified the body at the hospital. He had seen Emily, pale and motionless, on the gurney. Or had he? Now that he thought about it, everything had happened so fast. The hurried doctor, the dimly lit room, his own state of shock. Had he really looked carefully? "Who is this boy, Nathan?" asked Margaret, Emily's sister, approaching with tears staining her face. Nathan didn't answer. A wild, desperate idea was taking shape in his mind. "Open the coffin," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "What?" The priest looked scandalized. "Open the coffin now," Nathan repeated, louder this time, causing everyone to fall silent. The funeral director approached, embarrassed. "Mr. Brooks, this isn't recommended. Protocol." "To hell with protocol," Nathan shouted, already moving toward the coffin. "She's my wife. I want to see my wife." 2 funeral home employees tried to hold him back, but Nathan shoved them aside. With trembling fingers, he undid the coffin's locks himself and lifted the lid. A hush fell over the crowd, broken only by Margaret's muffled scream. In the coffin, dressed in Emily's favorite dress, lay a body, but it wasn't Emily. The woman's face, though similar at a glance, had different features. Her blonde hair was a darker shade, her facial structure more angular. She was not Emily. "My God," Nathan whispered, stepping back. It's not her. Chaos broke out immediately. People were shouting, others were calling the police. The funeral director looked as though he was about to faint. Nathan turned, searching for Liam in the midst of the confusion. The boy stood in the same spot, watching everything with eyes far too wise for his age. Who did this? Nathan asked, dropping to one knee so he was at the boy's level. Who took Emily? I don't know his name, Liam answered, but I know where he took her. I can show you. The goodbye funeral had turned into something else entirely. It was no longer an ending, but a beginning. The start of a search. Nathan squeezed Emily's ring in his hand until he felt it imprint on his palm. No matter what it took, he would find his wife. This would be his last chance to right his wrongs, if it wasn't already too late. The interrogation room at the police station had grey walls and the smell of stale coffee. Nathan had been sitting there for 2 hours, repeating the same story to the third different officer. His funeral suit was rumpled, and he kept running his hands through his hair. So, Mr. Brooks, Detective Harris said, not hiding his skepticism, you claim your wife is not dead based on the word of a street boy and a ring that could have been stolen. It's not just that, Nathan insisted, trying to keep calm. The body in the coffin wasn't hers. Everyone at the funeral saw it. Yes, there was a discrepancy in identification, the detective acknowledged, checking his notes. But that could mean many things. A funeral home error, a mix-up with the bodies. A mix-up? A completely different woman was wearing my wife's clothes. The detective sighed and closed his folder. Mr. Brooks, I understand your emotional state during this difficult time, but we need concrete evidence to open a kidnapping or faked death investigation. What about Liam's testimony? He saw someone taking Emily. A 6-year-old boy, with no fixed address or guardian, who just showed up at your wife's funeral out of nowhere. The detective raised an eyebrow. Not exactly a reliable witness. Nathan clenched his fists under the table. He wanted to yell, to demand they do something, but he knew it wouldn't help. If he wanted to find Emily, he'd have to do it on his own. Where's the boy now? The detective asked. In social services. They took him after the incident at the cemetery. Well, we'll question him properly. The detective stood up. In the meantime, I suggest you go home and rest. Losing someone close can make our minds create alternate scenarios, Mr. Brooks. Nathan left the police station with heavy steps. He was about to call his driver when he saw Liam sitting on the station's front steps. Hey, kid, Nathan approached, surprised. I thought social services took you. Liam shrugged, a gesture too grown up for a 6-year-old. I ran away. They always find me, but they never keep me for long. Nathan looked around, unsure what to do. Legally, he should report the boy, but Liam was his only connection to Emily now. Do you really know where she is? He asked, sitting down next to the kid. Not exactly, Liam admitted, but I know where I saw her last. Nathan checked his watch. It was almost 6 in the evening. Let's get something to eat first, he decided. Then you can show me. At a diner across the street, Nathan watched Liam devour a burger as though he hadn't eaten in days, which was probably true. The boy was small for his age, with dark circles under eyes no child should have. How did you end up on the streets, Liam? Nathan asked, trying not to sound invasive. Liam took a sip of his milkshake before answering. My mom died when I was 4. Never met my dad. I stayed with my grandma, but she died last year. No other family members could take care of you. No one else, Liam answered simply, without self-pity. I ended up in a shelter, but it was a bad place, so I ran away. Nathan felt a lump in his throat. How could someone so young talk about such suffering so matter-of-factly? Are you going to send me back to the shelter? Liam asked, in a frighteningly calm voice. I don't know what I'm going to do with you yet, Nathan admitted honestly. But first, I need you to help me find Emily. St. Mary's Hospital was an imposing building in the heart of the city. Nathan had been there 3 days ago when he got the call about Emily's accident. Now, walking through the white corridors with Liam by his side, everything felt different. Every nurse, every doctor seemed like a possible accomplice. Mr. Brooks, the receptionist looked surprised to see him. I'm so sorry for your loss. I need to speak with Dr. Curtis, Nathan said without preamble. He was the one who treated my wife in the ER. The woman typed something into her computer, frowning. That's strange. I don't see a doctor. Curtis on the schedule that night. What do you mean? He personally received me. Blonde, about 50 years old, rectangular glasses. We don't have any Dr. Curtis with that description, she replied, looking genuinely puzzled. Nathan felt his stomach drop. What about the admission record for Emily Brooks? There must be a file. Treatment notes. More clicks on the keyboard. The receptionist's face went pale. Mr. Brooks, according to our system, your wife was never admitted to this hospital. Nathan nearly knocked over the monitor with his hand. That's impossible. I was here. I saw her on a gurney in that room. He pointed toward the emergency corridor. Sir, please calm down, the receptionist requested, glancing around nervously. I can check the backup system. Sometimes records don't sync properly. While the woman worked, Nathan looked at Liam, who observed everything with sharp eyes. The boy seemed to pick up on every detail with a perception unusual for his age. It's all lies, Liam whispered, leaning toward Nathan. Look at how she's typing. She's not really searching for anything. I'm sorry, Mr. Brooks, she finally said. There's no record of your wife in our system. What about the security cameras? They should show me entering the hospital that night. Our cameras record on a 48-hour loop, she answered too quickly. The footage has already been overwritten. Nathan grabbed Liam's hand and pulled him away. We'll take a look for ourselves. They hurried down the emergency corridor, ignoring the receptionist's shouts. Nathan needed to see that room again to confirm he wasn't going crazy. Turning the corner, he found a locked door with a sign that read, Renovations in Progress. Exactly where the room he saw Emily in should have been. Convenient, isn't it? He muttered to Liam, who took everything in with watchful eyes. Sir, you can't be in here. A stocky security guard was approaching. I just want to know why they're lying about my wife, Nathan said, standing firm. I don't know what you're talking about, but you need to leave now. Nathan realized he wouldn't get any more information here. Giving the guard a nod, he took Liam's hand and left, not missing how the guard made a quick phone call as soon as they walked away. In the parking lot, Liam looked at Nathan seriously. They're hiding something. I know, Liam, they all are. At the funeral home, the story was the same. The director, who hours earlier seemed on the verge of a nervous breakdown at the funeral, was now strangely calm. It was a regrettable mistake, Mr. Brooks, he repeated, avoiding Nathan's eyes. We're conducting an internal investigation into how the body mix-up occurred. I want to see all the documentation, Nathan demanded. Who authorized the preparation of the body? Who signed off on it? Everything. Unfortunately, there was a small fire in our file room this morning, the director informed him with feigned regret. Nothing major, but the documents for your wife's case were compromised. Nathan gave a humorless laugh. A fire? Of course. He leaned over the director's desk. Who's paying you? How much is your silence costing? The man went pale. Mr. Brooks, I understand your pain, but that's a serious accusation. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Nathan didn't budge. You received a body, prepared it for a funeral, and have no records of it. You don't even know who that woman in the coffin was. As I said, we're investigating, the director repeated, his tone now firmer. And I strongly suggest you seek psychological help. Grief can do terrible things to our minds. Leaving the funeral home, Nathan heard the director making a rushed phone call. He slowed his pace, trying to listen. Yes, he just left. No, he didn't say anything. Yes, the boy is still with him. Nathan quickened his steps. Whoever was behind this knew about Liam and was watching their every move. By the time they reached the alley, Liam had mentioned, the sun was already setting. It was a narrow space between a grocery store and an abandoned building, damp and filled with the smell of garbage. This is where you saw Emily? Nathan asked, trying to picture his impeccable wife in such a setting. Liam nodded, walking to a specific spot. The car stopped right here. It was black, big with dark windows. A SUV or a limousine? More like those cars politicians use, Liam replied, with a driver in the front. A town car, maybe, Nathan murmured, looking around. Where were you? There. Liam pointed to a pile of cardboard boxes along the wall. That's where I sleep when it rains. The boxes keep me dry. Nathan felt a pang in his chest. While he and Emily lived in a mansion with 6 bedrooms, this boy slept in cardboard boxes in a stinking alley. Show me exactly where you found the ring. Liam walked a few steps and pointed to the ground. Here, it fell when the man took her out of the car. He didn't see it because he was busy carrying your wife. Nathan crouched down, examining the spot. There was nothing special there, just cracked concrete and some crushed cigarettes. But something caught his attention, a small dark stain on the ground. This looks like blood, he said, touching the dried patch. Yeah, Liam confirmed. A little blood was coming from her head, not much, but enough to drip. Is there anything else you remember, Liam? Any detail could help. The boy frowned, concentrating. The man seemed nervous. He kept looking around like he was scared someone would see. And he talked on the phone before putting her in the car. Did you hear what he said? Something like, I've got her now, and he asked if the money was ready. Nathan felt a chill, a kidnapping for money. But there had been no ransom request. And why fake Emily's death? Which way did they go? Liam pointed east, down that street. I tried to follow, but the car was too fast. Then I came back and saw the ring on the ground. Nathan looked down the street he indicated. It led to the industrial area of the city, full of warehouses and abandoned factories, a perfect place to hide someone. Nathan was exhausted by the time they reached the Brooks mansion. The house, normally immaculate, had clothes strewn about and dirty dishes everywhere. Emily would hate to see it like this, he thought, his heart clenching. He improvised dinner for Liam and showed the boy where he could sleep, the guest room closest to his own. He still wasn't sure what to do with the kid, but he couldn't just abandon him now, not when Liam was his only lead. While Liam took a bath, Nathan went to his office. Sitting in his leather chair, he gazed at a photo of him and Emily on his desk. It had been taken years ago in Greece during their honeymoon. They were both smiling, with the blue sea in the background. When had they stopped smiling at each other like that? The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. Nathan answered, expecting to hear a relative offering condolences. Stop looking, said a voice distorted electronically. Forget Emily, or you'll regret it. The call ended before he could respond. Nathan stared at the phone, a chill running down his spine. It was not a hallucination. He wasn't crazy. Emily was alive, and someone didn't want him to find out. With trembling hands, he opened his laptop. As CEO of Brooks Enterprises, he had access to resources the police didn't or refused to use. Within minutes, he'd contacted his company's IT department and requested a full investigation into Emily's finances. He had never bothered about his wife's financial activities. He knew she had unlimited access to their joint accounts, but always assumed she used the money just for household maintenance and the occasional shopping. How many other things did he not know about his own wife? The phone rang again. Nathan hesitated before picking up. Mr. Brooks, it's Kevin from IT. Did you find anything? Nathan asked, anxious. Yes, sir, and it's unusual. Mrs. Brooks opened a separate bank account about 6 months ago at a different bank than you normally use. What sort of activity in that account? Regular deposits from your joint account, amounts that could look like normal household spending, but then large transfers to a company called Horizon Investments. How much? In the last 6 months, about $300,000 in total. Nathan felt his stomach drop. That was a lot of money, even for them. Any info on this Horizon Investments? That's where it gets strange, sir. The company only exists on paper. No website, no registered employees, just an address in an industrial area and a single unidentified beneficiary. Send me the address, Nathan ordered. And keep digging. I want to know who that beneficiary is. After hanging up, Nathan stared out the office window into the city's night. What was Emily doing with all that money? Was she being blackmailed? Was she planning to leave him and secretly stocking up on funds? The thought made him feel a stab of jealousy. In the weeks before the accident, they'd barely spoken. They had argued bitterly about his constant absence, his broken promises, and last-minute cancelled dinners. Emily had thrown her wedding ring on the kitchen table, saying she was tired of being the busy businessman's wife. What if she really had been planning to leave him? What if someone found out and kidnapped her for the money? He heard small footsteps. Liam stood in the office doorway, his wet hair dripping, wearing one of Nathan's t-shirts that fit him like a dress. "I can't sleep," the boy said. "I keep thinking about your wife." Nathan motioned him closer. "Liam, I need you to tell me exactly what you saw that night. Every detail." The boy sat in the armchair across the desk, looking even smaller in the dark leather. "I've told you everything," he said. "The car, the man carrying her, the blood on her head." "How did she look? Was she conscious? Was she fighting him?" Liam shook his head. "She looked, I don't know the right word, like she was asleep, but not normal sleep." "Drugged," Nathan suggested, feeling his stomach churn. "Yeah, that," Liam agreed. "She didn't move." "What about the man? Anything you remember? His voice, his clothing, any marks?" Liam closed his eyes, concentrating. He wore a long dark coat, and he talked quietly on the phone. "Do you remember exactly what he said about money?" The boy bit his lip, thinking hard. He said something like, "I've got her. Where's the money?" And then, "No, I don't care about the rest. I just want my share." Nathan frowned. That didn't sound like a typical kidnapping. It sounded more like a transaction. Was Emily being sold? The idea was horrifying. But in light of what he had discovered about the secret account, nothing seemed impossible anymore. "Nathan," Liam's small voice brought him back. "We're going to find your wife, right?" Nathan looked at the boy, ragged, tired, but with a determination in his eyes that many adults lacked. "Yes, Liam, we'll find her." But even as he said it, a dark doubt crept into his mind. What if Emily was involved in something dangerous? Had his frequent absences, his blind dedication to work, pushed her into a situation beyond her control? Looking at the photo on his desk again, Nathan felt guilt crushing his chest. Maybe if he had been a better husband, more present, none of this would have happened. Maybe Emily would never have needed a secret account or gotten involved with dangerous people, but regret wouldn't bring Emily back. All he could do now was find her and, if it wasn't too late, try to mend what had been broken between them. "Let's get some sleep," he told Liam, getting up. "Tomorrow, we'll go to this Horizon Investments address." The boy nodded, yawning. As he guided Liam back to the guest room, Nathan felt a strange comfort in the child's presence. In less than 24 hours, Liam had become his only ally in what looked like a gigantic conspiracy. The office phone rang once more, echoing through the empty house. Nathan hesitated but decided not to answer. Whatever threats they made, and they wouldn't stop him. If Emily was alive, he would find her, and whoever took her would pay dearly, far more than the $300,000 she had transferred. 3 days had passed since the funeral. Nathan and Liam had visited Horizon Investments' listed address, only to find an abandoned warehouse, another dead end. Now, they sat in the kitchen of the Brooks mansion, sharing a quiet breakfast, the kind of comfortable silence two people share when thrown together by desperate circumstances. Nathan watched the boy eat cereal. In just 3 days, Liam already looked different. The new clothes Nathan bought him, the daily baths and regular meals were starting to fill out the hollows in his cheeks. But his eyes, old eyes in a child's face, remained the same. Eyes that had seen far too much. "You promised you'd tell me more about yourself today," Nathan said, breaking the silence. "What was your life like before the streets?" Liam put his spoon down. For a moment, Nathan thought he would clam up again, as he always did when asked personal questions. But this time, the boy took a deep breath and began to speak. "My mom's name was Sandra. She worked 2 jobs. I hardly saw her. We lived in a small apartment, but it was nice." Liam traced an invisible pattern on the table with his finger. "She got sick. Cancer. At first they said she'd get better. Then they said she wouldn't." Nathan waited patiently as Liam sorted his memories. "When she died, I went to live with my grandma. It was good, but she was too old to take care of me. Sometimes she forgot to cook, or forgot I was even there." The boy shrugged. "Then she fell in the bathroom and didn't get up." "I'm sorry, Liam," Nathan said. aware that words were inadequate for such loss. Then came the shelter. Liam's face closed off. I don't like talking about the shelter. You don't have to. The older kids beat the younger ones. The adults didn't care. Some adults were worse than the kids. Liam looked at Nathan with serious eyes. The streets are dangerous, but at least I decide where I go. Nathan felt a tightness in his chest. At 6 years old, this boy had already learned more about abandonment, death, and survival than most adults. How did you learn to survive on the streets? By watching, Liam answered simply. I learned which places are safe, who's dangerous, where to find food. I learned how to hide and run fast. A faint smile crossed the boy's face. I'm really good at running. I notice you're very observant, Nathan remarked. You picked up on things about that man with Emily that most adults wouldn't. When you live on the street, you have to pay attention to everything. Details can mean food or getting beaten. Liam shrugged, as if sharing a professional secret. People don't pay attention to me, so I pay attention to them. Nathan thought of how he'd ignored homeless people on the street, how he had never truly seen the Liams of the world. How many times had Emily tried to convince him to donate to shelters and show more concern? Now he wondered if this invisible boy was his only chance of finding his wife. You're brave, you know, Nathan said, surprising himself with how genuine he sounded. Most adults would have run or hidden after seeing what you did. They certainly wouldn't have gone to a funeral full of strangers just to return a ring. Liam looked at his feet, visibly uncomfortable with the praise. I just did what was right, he mumbled. Your wife seemed nice in the newspaper pictures. I figured you must really like her. Nathan felt a surge of guilt. He did love Emily, but had he shown her enough in recent years? Hey, he said, changing the subject. How about we watch a movie later? I have a home theater here. Liam's eyes widened. A movie theater. Inside the house, Nathan smiled, feeling genuinely good for the first time in days. For a moment, Liam looked just like a normal kid, excited about something new. Yes, and you can choose the film. But first, I have some things to investigate. In the office, Nathan typed furiously. He'd managed to gain access to Emily's personal email via a recovery password. He'd never done this before. They had always respected each other's privacy. Or maybe, he thought bitterly, they just never cared enough to be curious. Emily's inbox was meticulously organized into folders: volunteer work, household bills, family. He focused on messages from the last 6 months, when the bank transfers began. Anything? Liam asked, sitting in the corner armchair, drawing on a notepad Nathan had given him. Not sure yet, Nathan replied, opening a folder titled Personal Projects. Emily seems to have been involved in some sort of... I'm not sure what. The emails exchanged with someone identified only as J were vague and cautious. Mentions of donations, final steps, and keeping everything discreet. In one email, Emily wrote, I can't involve Nathan in this. He'll never understand. The last message was 5 days before her supposed accident. We're almost there. Soon everything will be resolved. What the hell were you doing, Emily? Nathan murmured at the screen. Liam stood up and came closer, peering over Nathan's shoulder. Maybe she was helping someone. With $300,000. My mom used to say rich people always help other rich people, Liam said with childlike bluntness. Maybe your wife wanted to help people like me. Nathan looked at the boy, surprised. He'd never considered that possibility. Emily had always had a strong sense of social justice, something he often dismissed as naive idealism. Let's go visit some of Emily's friends, Nathan decided, shutting down the computer. Friends who might know more than I do. Margaret, Emily's sister, lived in an upscale apartment downtown. When she opened the door and saw Nathan with Liam, her tear-swollen eyes widened in surprise. Nathan, what are you... Who is this? This is Liam, Nathan explained. He's been helping me. May we come in? I need to ask you some questions about Emily. Margaret's living room was filled with photos of Emily. The sisters, always close, smiled at beaches, parties, and graduations. Nathan realized there were more pictures of Emily here than in his own home. You really think she's alive? Margaret asked, pouring tea. Her tone was skeptical. but her eyes held a glimmer of hope. "I'm sure," Nathan replied, "and someone wants me to stop looking." Margaret, was Emily acting strangely in the weeks before the accident? Margaret hesitated, glancing at Liam, who was exploring the living room with quiet curiosity. "Don't worry about him," Nathan assured her. "He knows everything." "Well, yes," Margaret admitted. "Emily seemed anxious. She cancelled our weekly lunch twice, which never happened. When I asked if she was okay, she said she was involved in an important project that required discretion." "Did she mention anyone? Any name, maybe starting with J?" Margaret frowned. "Not specifically, but she was on her phone all the time, texting someone. When I asked who it was, she changed the subject." Nathan felt a pang of jealousy. An affair. Could Emily have been having an affair? "Oh, and there was that car," Margaret added, as if just remembering. "A black sedan that stayed parked near your house. Emily mentioned it was there several times whenever she went out alone." "Did you see who was driving?" "No, dark windows." Margaret hesitated. "Nathan, do you think someone kidnapped her?" "That's exactly what I think, and I'm afraid it might be connected to the large sums of money she was sending to a shell company called Horizon Investments." Margaret's eyes widened. Horizon Investments? Never heard of it. "Me neither, until 3 days ago." Margaret looked at Liam, who was now examining a photo of Emily at the beach. "And this boy, how is he involved?" "He saw Emily being taken the night everyone thought she died," Nathan explained. "He found her ring and brought it to me at the funeral." "My God," Margaret whispered. "Poor kid. Where is he living now?" "With me," Nathan answered, surprising himself with how naturally the words came out. "Temporarily." As they left Margaret's apartment, Nathan realized something had changed. He'd said temporarily, but the truth was he couldn't imagine continuing the search without Liam. The boy was not just his link to Emily, but also a presence that somehow filled a bit of the emptiness her absence had created. And the next stop was Claire's home, Emily's best friend from college. If there was anyone Emily might have confided in, it was her. Claire was in her garden when they arrived, watering plants. She nearly dropped her watering can when she saw Nathan. "Nathan, I'm so sorry about what happened." "Emily's not dead, Claire," Nathan said bluntly, "and I think you know that." Claire's face went pale. She looked nervously at Liam. "Who's the boy?" "A witness." Nathan took a step forward. "Claire, I need to know what Emily was into. Was she involved in something dangerous?" Claire bit her lip, clearly conflicted. Finally, she gestured for them to come inside. Once inside, Liam wandered over to a bookshelf, curious but contained. Claire spoke in a low voice. Emily was worried about something. In the last few weeks, she mentioned she was finally going to do the right thing, even if it was difficult and complicated. "Do you know what that right thing was?" "Not exactly, but it had something to do with money, with justice." Claire hesitated. "And with you, Nathan." "Me? How so?" "She said you'd be furious if you found out, but she had to do it, with or without your support." Nathan felt his blood run cold. What on earth was Emily doing? Something illegal. "Claire, did Emily mention anyone named Jay, or Horizon Investments?" Claire shook her head. "Not that I remember, but..." She lowered her voice even more. "A couple of weeks ago, when we went out for lunch, Emily was really nervous. She said she'd been followed the night before, a black car. And when we got back, there was a man standing across the street, watching. Emily went pale when she saw him." "Did you get a look at him?" "From a distance. Tall, dark hair. He wore a long coat even though it was warm." Nathan exchanged a glance with Liam, who had quietly approached and heard everything. "Sounds like the man I saw," the boy said. Claire looked at Liam, confused. "Who exactly are you?" "I saw when they took Mrs. Emily," Liam said with surprising composure. "The man in the coat. He said something about wrapping everything up soon." "Wrapping everything up soon," Claire repeated, frowning. "Emily used those exact words in our last phone call. She said she was about to wrap everything up, and then we could finally travel together, like we'd planned for years." On the drive home, Nathan was more confused than ever. The pieces of the puzzle seemed to multiply without forming a clear picture. Was Emily in danger, or had she planned something? Was she running from someone or meeting them secretly? Why so much secrecy, especially with him? "She didn't trust you," Liam said abruptly, as if reading Nathan's thoughts. "That's why she didn't tell you." Nathan glanced at the boy, surprised by his frankness. "You think so? You worked a lot, right?" Liam continued. "My mom did too. She said she had no choice, but I still missed her." Nathan felt like he'd been punched. "Yes, I worked a lot. Thought I was building something for both of us, but you built it alone," Liam finished. "And she ended up alone too." Suddenly, 4 days of stress, fear, and guilt crashed down on Nathan. He pulled the car to the side of the road and put his head in his hands. "What if I can't find her?" he murmured, more to himself than to Liam. "What if it's too late?" To his surprise, he felt a small hand on his shoulder. "It's not too late," Liam said with a confidence that belied his size. "We'll find her." Nathan looked at the boy. "We?" "Yes," Liam nodded gravely. "I promise to help you to the end, and I always keep my promises." Something warm and unexpected blossomed in Nathan's chest. How could this child, who had lost everything, still believe in promises? How could he offer comfort when his own life had been so devoid of it? "Thank you, Liam," he said, swallowing the lump in his throat. "I don't think I could do this alone." The boy shrugged, returning to his usual stoic demeanor. Nobody can do anything important alone. In that moment, looking at the child fate had thrown into his life at the worst possible time, Nathan realized that no matter what happened with Emily, his life would never be the same. Somehow, amid the chaos and despair of searching for his wife, he had found something unexpected, a connection, a purpose beyond himself. "Let's go home," he said, starting the engine again. "We need some rest. Tomorrow's another day of searching." "What about that movie you promised?" Liam asked, a rare smile lighting up his tired face. Nathan smiled back, feeling a lightness he hadn't experienced in days. "Of course, the movie. You can pick whatever you want." The hope of finding Emily grew, but so did his fear of what they might discover. Still, for the first time since the funeral, Nathan didn't feel completely lost. He had an unlikely ally, small in stature, but huge in courage and insight. And together, maybe, just maybe, they could unravel the mystery and bring Emily home. Nathan awoke with a start, sweat clinging to his skin. In his dream, Emily had called out to him from somewhere dark, but her voice grew weaker and weaker. A week had passed since the funeral, and the feeling of racing against time only intensified. He looked at the clock, 5:43 a.m. He knew he wouldn't get back to sleep. Getting up, he went to the window. The street was deserted, except for a black car parked across the way. Narrowing his eyes, he realized the same car had been there the night before, and the night before that. He grabbed binoculars from a drawer and looked. Dark windows, no visible plates. After a few minutes, the car started and drove away slowly. In the hallway, he found Liam awake, sitting at the top of the stairs. "Morning," Nathan said, surprised. "You're up early." "I heard a strange noise," Liam replied, rubbing his eyes, "like someone messing with the windows." Nathan felt a chill. "What time?" "Around 4, I think." "So I went to look, but I didn't see anyone." Nathan hurried downstairs, Liam right behind him. At the back door, he found what he feared, marks on the lock, as if someone had tried to force it open. They hadn't gotten in thanks to the security system, but the attempt was a clear warning. "They're watching us," Nathan muttered. "The black car," Liam said simply. "It's been following us for days." Nathan stared at the boy, surprised. "You noticed?" "Of course," Liam shrugged, as though it were obvious. "It's always around, sometimes far, sometimes close. Changes spots, but it's always the same car." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought you knew," Liam answered. "You always look at it when we go out." Nathan realized that subconsciously he had noticed its presence, but he'd been too focused on Emily to really register it. Liam, however, never let his guard down, a habit formed from living on the streets. The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. Nathan answered, but no one spoke, only silence and heavy breathing on the other end. "Who is this?" he demanded. The line disconnected. "Third time this week," he said to Liam, hanging up. "They're trying to scare you," the boy noted. "It's working," Nathan admitted, running a hand through his hair. "But I'm not going to stop." In the office, Nathan opened his laptop. Kevin from IT had sent over new files about Emily's transfers. He brought them up on the screen, waving Liam over to look. "Check this out," Nathan pointed. "Over the past 6 months, Emily transferred nearly $300,000 to this phantom company, Horizon Investments." "That's a lot of money," Liam commented. "For most people, yes, for us?" Nathan hesitated. "It's an amount she could move without me noticing right away, as long as I didn't check the detailed statements. And I never did." Nathan scrolled through the files until he reached new information. Kevin managed to find more on the beneficiary of Horizon. "There's no name, just a code. Recipient JL7842. All the funds went to an account in the Cayman Islands." "What are the Cayman Islands?" Liam asked. "A place where people hide money when they don't want others to know," Nathan simplified. "The problem is we still don't know who JL7842 is or why Emily was sending so much money." Nathan leaned back in his chair, frustrated. Every new piece of information just raised more questions. What was Emily doing? Paying off a blackmailer? Financing something illegal? Or, as Liam suggested, trying to help someone? "Nathan," Liam said suddenly, sitting up straighter, "I just remembered something." "What is it?" "On the streets, you hear things. A few weeks ago, there were rumors about an abandoned house on the outskirts of the city. A place no one goes. People said someone important was hiding there." Nathan leaned forward, interested. "What kind of rumors?" "Tommy, an older kid who sometimes gave me food, said he saw a fancy car stop there a bunch of times, a driver and all. He followed once, out of curiosity, and saw a man in a suit carrying bags of food inside." "You think that's where they might be keeping Emily?" Liam bit his lip. "I'm not sure. But it's weird, right? An abandoned house getting visits from rich people." Nathan stood up, suddenly energized. "Liam, do you know where this house is?" "Sort of. It's near the river, off the old road. There's a rusty gate and a broken fence." "We'll check it out," Nathan decided. "But we need to be discreet. If they're watching us, we can't let them know we have this lead." While they packed to leave, the phone rang again. Nathan picked up. "Stop now," the electronically distorted voice warned. "This is your last chance, Brooks. Next time, it won't just be your wife." "Who are you?" Nathan demanded. "What did you do with Emily?" "Emily's fine, for now. Keep looking, and you'll be next. Both of you will." The explicit threat made Nathan shudder. Whoever was behind this wasn't just trying to intimidate, they were promising harm to Emily and him. "I want to talk to her," Nathan tried, desperate. "Prove she's alive. You're not in a position to make demands," the voice replied coldly. "Forget Emily. Go back to your life, or you won't have a life to go back to." The call ended. Nathan stood there, phone in hand, feeling the weight of the warning. "They're getting nervous," Liam observed, noting Nathan's pale face. "That means we're close." Nathan looked at the boy, amazed by his insight. "How can you be so calm?" "I'm not," Liam admitted, "but being scared won't help save your wife." Once again, the child's simple wisdom hit Nathan. There was something about Liam that kept him from giving up, something that made it impossible to succumb to fear. Perhaps it was the boy's presence that gave him the strength to keep going. "We have to be extremely careful," Nathan said, crouching to look the boy in the eye. "We can't just drive there. They're watching us." Liam nodded, grasping the seriousness of the situation. "We can take the bus. Nobody pays attention to an adult with a kid on the bus." "Good idea," Nathan agreed. "But first, we need a map. Let's look up all the abandoned properties in the area you mentioned." They spent the next few hours poring over maps and online property records. Using his company contacts, Nathan obtained information on the outskirts of the city, focusing on vacant or legally disputed properties. "I found 3 possibilities," he finally said. "An old factory, a farmhouse, and a small warehouse, all near the river, all abandoned for at least a year." "The farmhouse," Liam said immediately. "That's the one Tommy mentioned." "How do we get there without drawing attention?" Liam thought for a moment. We can take the bus to a park, then walk a bit and catch a cab. If someone's following, it'll be harder for them. You're good at this, Nathan remarked, impressed. I learned to hide from social workers. Liam gave a small smile. It's pretty similar. They left an hour later, dressed casually with backpacks, as though heading out for a simple day trip. Nathan locked all important documents in his safe before they left. Something told him the house wouldn't be safe in their absence. On the bus, they sat at the back, keeping a close eye out for anyone tailing them. Nathan didn't see the black car anywhere, which was both a relief and a concern. If he couldn't see who was watching him, he wouldn't know where the danger was coming from. That man in the front, Liam whispered, leaning in. He got on right after us and he keeps staring back, Nathan observed discreetly. A middle-aged man in a dark coat, despite the hot day, sitting alone and glancing toward them frequently. Good eye, Nathan murmured. We'll get off at the next stop and see if he follows. When the bus stopped, they exited quickly. The man stayed seated, but Nathan noticed him watching them through the window. A chill ran through him. Change of plans, he told Liam, picking up the pace. We'll go into that store and leave through the back. They entered a small grocery store, pretending to browse. They asked to use the restroom, and an employee pointed down a back corridor that led to an alley exit. Once outside, Nathan took out his phone. We need a cab now. 15 minutes later, they were on their way to the rural outskirts of the city. The cab driver, an elderly man who chatted non-stop about the weather, didn't seem to notice his passengers' tension. Drop us off at the intersection of Old Highway and River Road, Nathan requested, not wanting to reveal the exact location. The farther they got from the city, the more Nathan's anxiety grew. If Emily really was at that abandoned farmhouse, what would they find? Would she be okay? What if it was a trap? It'll be fine, Liam said quietly, as if reading Nathan's mind. We'll find her. Nathan looked at the boy beside him, so small yet so strong. How could someone who had lost everything still have so much hope? You're amazing, you know that, he blurted. I don't know what I'd do without you on this search. Liam seemed embarrassed by the compliment, but a shy smile crossed his face. You're okay too, he murmured. For a rich adult, Nathan laughed, feeling a brief moment of lightness amid the constant terror of the last few days. It was odd how this boy, who had come into his life at the worst moment, had become so important in such a short time. The cab dropped them at the intersection as requested. Nathan paid in cash, leaving a generous tip so the driver wouldn't remember much about them later. Now we walk, he said, adjusting his backpack. Liam, you remember exactly where the house is? Yeah, it's that way, the boy pointed to a narrow dirt track. We have to walk a bit, but not too far. They walked in silence for nearly 20 minutes, alert for any noise or movement. The path was deserted, broken only by occasional bird song. Finally, Liam signaled for them to stop. There, he whispered, pointing toward a bend in the road ahead. After that curve, you'll see the gate. Nathan nodded. We'll approach through the woods, not along the road. It's safer. They slipped into the trees, moving slowly to avoid making noise. When they reached a vantage point overlooking the property, Nathan pulled out binoculars from his backpack. It was an old two-story farmhouse, with peeling paint and boarded-up windows. A rusty gate hung from a partially collapsed fence. At first glance, it looked utterly abandoned. I don't see any car, Nathan murmured. Look there, Liam pointed. Fresh tire tracks. Someone was here. Nathan adjusted the binoculars. The boy was right. There were fresh tire marks in the dirt driveway, indicating a recent visit. Good eye, Liam. Very good. They continued watching for almost an hour, but detected no movement. There were no obvious signs of occupation, no lights, no sounds, no smoke from the chimney. We need to get closer, Nathan decided, but not now. It's getting late, and it'd be dangerous to get stuck here after dark. Liam nodded, though he looked disappointed. We can come back tomorrow with flashlights and food. Yes, and we'll need a better plan if Emily's in there. We can't just barge in without thinking about the consequences. On the return trip, they made sure to use a different route, taking another taxi and then a different bus. Nathan was paranoid, constantly checking if they were being followed. Liam stayed vigilant, his sharp eyes noting every passenger who got on or off. It was getting dark by the time they arrived at the Brooks mansion. Nathan immediately sensed something was wrong. The front door was slightly ajar, even though he was sure he'd locked it. "Stay here," he whispered to Liam, ushering the boy behind a tree in the yard. "No," Liam protested, grabbing his arm. "It's dangerous to go alone." "More dangerous for you," Nathan insisted. "Please, Liam, stay here, and if anything happens, run to the neighbor's house and call the police." Reluctantly, the boy nodded. Nathan approached the house cautiously, pushing the door open carefully. The interior was a complete wreck. Drawers pulled out, papers scattered on the floor, furniture overturned. Someone had ransacked the entire place. Heart pounding, Nathan raced to his office. The safe was intact. Whoever broke in hadn't been able to open it, but his laptop was destroyed. The screen shattered and the hard drive ripped out. The files with Emily's bank statements and the Horizon Investments records, the ones he had left on his desk, were gone. "Damn it," Nathan muttered, surveying the trashed office. They'd taken everything that linked Emily to the secret account and the transfers. Without that evidence, his story sounded even more like a grieving widower's delusion. A noise at the door made him whirl around. Liam stood there, eyes wide, taking in the destruction. "I told you to wait outside," Nathan scolded, but he couldn't muster any real anger. "I thought you might need help," Liam explained, stepping into the office. They took everything. Almost everything. The most important documents were in the safe. Nathan crouched in front of the boy. "Liam, this is getting too dangerous. Maybe you should stay somewhere else for a while. Maybe with Margaret, Emily's sister." "No," Liam interrupted firmly. "I'm not leaving you alone. I promised to help find your wife, and I keep my promises." Nathan looked at that 6-year-old boy, so determined, so brave despite everything he'd lost, and felt a lump in his throat. "I know you promised," Liam continued. "But it's not just that. It's you and Mrs. Emily are the only people who've been nice to me since my grandma died. I can't leave you now." Nathan swallowed hard, touched. "Thank you, Liam. That means a lot to me." Carefully, they checked the rest of the house. The intruders had torn everything apart, but seemed to have taken nothing except documents. It was a clearly targeted search. They wanted to erase any evidence that might lead Nathan to Emily. "What do we do now?" Liam asked as they tried to straighten up the living room. "I think we need help," Nathan admitted. "I was thinking of hiring a private investigator, someone not connected to the local police. I'm starting to suspect someone in the department might be involved." "Why do you think that?" "It's too convenient how they dismissed my story so quickly. How the body in the coffin was misidentified without anyone being held responsible. How all the records vanished." Nathan picked up his phone. He still had some contacts from his days as a lawyer before founding Brooks Enterprises. One was a former cop who now worked as a private investigator. "I'll make some calls. Meanwhile, I don't think we should sleep here tonight." Liam nodded, looking around nervously. "They might come back." "Exactly. We'll go to a hotel under fake names, pay in cash." As they gathered clothes and essentials, Nathan couldn't shake the sense of failure. A week after the funeral, and what had he achieved? Vague leads, rumors, and now a ransacked house. Emily was still missing, and the threats were escalating. "Hey," Liam said, touching his arm, "don't give up. We found the place where she might be. That's more than we had before." Nathan looked at the boy, struck by his resilience. "You're right, and tomorrow we'll check that house more thoroughly." In the car on the way to the hotel, Nathan made a decision. No matter how dangerous, he would return to that farmhouse. The tire marks, the isolated location, the rumors Liam had heard, all pointed there. If Emily was being held there, he'd find her. And if she wasn't, he'd keep searching until his last breath. He glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the black car trailing them. The road behind them was empty. Yet somehow that didn't comfort him. Whoever was behind Emily's disappearance was patient, meticulous, and willing to do anything to stop him. But they hadn't counted on his determination, and they definitely hadn't counted on Liam, whose sharp eyes and instincts had already proven invaluable. "We'll find her," Nathan said, both to himself and to Liam. "No matter how long it takes." "Yeah," the boy agreed, his small face serious in the dashboard lights. "We'll find her." The road stretched ahead, dark and uncertain. But for the first time in days, Nathan felt something besides fear and guilt. He felt hope. Darkness swallowed the car as Nathan turned off the headlights half a mile from the abandoned property. The moonless night offered perfect cover, but it also made it hard to see the path. He parked on a side road, hiding the vehicle among tall bushes. "Are you sure we both should go?" Nathan asked Liam one last time, though he already knew the boy's answer. "Yes," the boy replied firmly. "Four eyes see more than two." In the 3 days since their house was invaded, they had stayed at a small motel on the edge of the city under fake names, paying cash. The private investigator Nathan hired had dug deep into Horizon's beneficiary, but came up empty. Whoever was behind JL 7842 had covered their tracks well. Tired of waiting, Nathan decided it was time to act. The farmhouse was their best lead, and he couldn't waste any more time. "Remember what we agreed," Nathan said, adjusting the small backpack on his shoulders. "If I say run, you run, no matter what happens to me." Liam nodded, but Nathan knew the boy likely wouldn't obey. Over the past days, their bond had grown stronger than he'd ever thought possible. Liam wasn't just a little ally in the search for Emily, he was almost like a son. "Keep your flashlight off until we're inside," Nathan instructed, "and stay close to me." They walked in silence along the dark trail, guided only by the faint starlight. The smell of damp earth and decaying leaves filled the air. Occasionally, an owl's hoot shattered the silence, making Nathan jump. When they reached the farmhouse's broken fence, they paused to observe. The place looked abandoned as before, boarded windows peeling paint, no sign of lights or movement. "The car's not here," Liam whispered, pointing to where they had seen tire tracks. "Good," Nathan replied. "Let's make the most of being alone." Quietly, they crossed the weed-choked yard. The back door was locked, but one of the nearby windows had loose boards that could be moved enough to slip inside. Nathan pried them off carefully, testing each one for noise. "I'll go first," he said. "Wait until I call you." The interior smelled of mold and neglect. Nathan turned on his flashlight, covering part of it with his hand to dim the beam. He scanned the room. It looked like an old kitchen. Broken dishes, rusty utensils, and dusty furniture. "Come in, Liam," he whispered. "Be careful where you step." The boy slipped in through the window with the agility of someone used to entering places he wasn't supposed to. His eyes glinted in the low light, taking in every detail. "Someone's been using this place," Liam murmured. "Look!" He pointed to a corner of the kitchen where, amid the dust and decay, there were signs of recent use: a half-full water bottle, food wrappers, footprints in the dust that didn't look old. Nathan's heart pounded. "Let's check the rest of the house." The living room was much the same, mostly abandoned, but with subtle signs of recent human presence. A clean chair among dusty furniture. A spot on the floor with less dust, like it had been swept or used frequently. When they reached the base of the stairs leading to the second floor, Nathan hesitated. Some of the wood looked rotten. If the stairs creaked or broke, they'd lose the element of surprise if anyone was here. "Let's go up slowly," he decided. "Step where I step." The staircase groaned under his weight but didn't give way. Upstairs, they found a hallway with 4 doors. 3 were open, revealing empty, abandoned bedrooms. The last was closed. Nathan approached cautiously, testing the doorknob, locked. "Something's blocking it from the inside," Liam whispered, pointing to the small gap under the door. "See? There's a different kind of shadow." Nathan crouched and confirmed a piece of furniture, maybe, had been pushed against the door from inside, a makeshift barricade. "Emily?" he called softly, putting his lips near the door. "Emily, are you in there?" Silence. He tried again, a bit louder this time. "Emily? It's me, Nathan. I came to get you." No response, but Nathan thought he heard a faint rustling on the other side. "We need to open this door," he decided. "How?" Liam asked. Nathan examined the old lock, likely fragile after years of neglect. He could probably force it. "I'll try to break it," he said, backing up a few steps. "Stand back." The door held on the first impact. On the second, the wood around the lock started to splinter. On the third, it broke open with a crack. toppling what appeared to be a dresser that had been dragged in front of it. The room was dark. Nathan entered cautiously, flashlight cutting through the gloom. The bed was rumpled, the sheets disheveled. There was a tray with leftover food, a glass of water, and something that made his heart freeze. A handkerchief embroidered with the initials EB, Emily Brooks. "It's hers," he said, picking it up with shaking hands. Emily was here. Maybe she still is. "Look at this," Liam called, pointing to the wall next to the bed. Nathan shone his flashlight and saw small marks on the wall, as though someone had been counting the days. There were 12 scratches. 12 days, Nathan murmured. The time since the accident. As he continued searching, he found more evidence of Emily's presence. A hairbrush with blonde strands caught in its bristles, a water glass with lipstick marks, and finally, hidden beneath the mattress, a piece of paper. Nathan unfolded it carefully, recognizing Emily's elegant handwriting immediately. "If anyone finds this, please call the police. I'm being held here against my will by L. He comes every day around 10 p.m. I don't know how much longer." The message ended abruptly, as though she'd been interrupted. "L?" Nathan frowned. "Who's L?" Liam, who was scanning the room with almost professional curiosity, beckoned Nathan over to the window. "Look at these screws." He pointed at the boards covering the window. "They're new, put in recently." Nathan nodded. All the other windows in the house had old rusty nails, but this one was sealed with shiny new screws. Someone had reinforced this window to keep someone from escaping. "She's not here now," Nathan concluded, sweeping the light around again, "but she was, and she'll be back." "Or he'll bring her back," Liam corrected. "The man who took her." "L.A.," Nathan repeated, trying to think of who it could be. Did he know anyone in Emily's life whose name began with L? An ex-boyfriend, a colleague, an enemy. Liam spotted something under the bed. He crouched and pulled out a small box. Look, more of her stuff. Inside were personal items of Emily's, her planner, a small photo album, a book with a page marked. Nathan flipped through the planner, searching for clues. On the last pages, he found notes about the transfers to Horizon Investments. One entry read, "Final transfer today. Lucas says this will fix everything." "Lucas?" Nathan exclaimed. "Lucas Davidson? Her cousin?" "Who's Lucas?" Liam asked. "Emily's cousin, her uncle's son. They grew up together." Nathan tried to process, but why? Why would Lucas do this? Before he could say more, Liam froze, pointing to the window. "Lights," he whispered. "They're coming up the road." Nathan rushed to the window and saw 2 headlights approaching the house. Someone was arriving. "We need to hide," he said quickly. "Put everything back how it was." They replaced the box under the bed and straightened the sheets to look undisturbed. Nathan pocketed Emily's note. He couldn't leave that behind. "Where do we hide?" Liam asked, voice tense. Nathan looked around desperately. There wasn't much time. "The closet," he decided, pointing to a large built-in wardrobe. "Hurry!" They barely closed the closet door before hearing the sound of a car stopping outside. Then a gate opening, footsteps at the entrance, and a door unlocking. Someone was here. From inside the closet, through gaps in the wood, they could see part of the room. Nathan held Liam behind him protectively. Both turned off their flashlights, enveloped in near total darkness. Minutes dragged on as they heard footsteps downstairs. Someone was walking through the house, moving things around. Finally, steps on the stairs, coming closer. The bedroom door opened, and a figure entered carrying a flashlight. Nathan held his breath. It was Lucas Davidson, Emily's cousin, whom Nathan had seen only a few times in recent years at family events. Tall, dark-haired, with intense eyes that always seemed a bit out of place in family gatherings. Lucas wasn't alone. He was pulling Emily by the arm, practically dragging her into the room. She looked pale, haggard, her hair disheveled, and her clothes rumpled. But she was alive. "You'll stay here until I fix everything," Lucas was saying, his voice tense. "Things got complicated. Someone broke into his house and stole documents." "Lucas, please," Emily pleaded, her voice hoarse as though she'd cried a lot. "This has gone too far. Let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone." Lucas gave a bitter laugh. As if I could trust you now. After everything I've done, you still want to go back to him. He's my husband. He doesn't deserve you, Lucas shouted, suddenly furious. He ignores you, treats you like a trophy, while I've always been there. I've always taken care of you. Nathan felt bile rise in his throat. Was Lucas obsessed with Emily? How had he never noticed? Please, Emily tried again, her voice calmer now. You didn't have to do all this. We could have talked. Talk? Lucas gave a harsh laugh. I've tried talking for years. I tried to show you how he doesn't deserve you, but you never saw. So yes, I had to do this. I had to make you see. He pulled something from his pocket. A gun. Emily stepped back, eyes wide with fear. I'm not going to hurt you, Lucas said, voice softening. I'd never hurt you. This is to protect me. Your husband is out there, looking. He almost caught me once. Nathan is looking for me, Emily asked, a spark of hope in her voice. Of course he is. The fool won't give up, Lucas spat. But don't worry. Soon he'll stop searching, one way or another. The veiled threat made Nathan clench his fists in anger. He wanted to burst from hiding right then and tackle Lucas, but the gun worried him. One wrong move, and Emily could be hurt. You're sick, Lucas, Emily said, her voice finding strength. This isn't love. It's obsession. It's madness. Don't tell me what love is, Lucas yelled, his hands shaking as he pointed the gun. I've loved you my whole life. Since we were kids, I'd do anything for you. I did anything. Like what? Emily asked, clearly trying to keep him talking. What exactly did you do? Lucas smiled, a disturbing gleam in his eyes. I set it all up. The accident, the body swap, the fake paperwork, all to free you from him. That woman in the coffin, Emily whispered. Who was she? No one important. A homeless woman who died at the hospital where I work. Nobody claimed the body, so I put it to good use. Nathan felt a wave of revulsion. Lucas worked as an administrator at a hospital in a neighboring city. He'd have access to records, documents, possibly even morgues. What about the money? Emily asked. Why make me transfer so much money? I had debts, Lucas admitted with a casual shrug. Gambling, mostly. I figured it was fair for your rich husband to pay for them, since he was going to lose you anyway. In the closet, Liam shifted, causing a slight noise. Nathan froze, praying Lucas hadn't heard, but the man stopped, alert. What was that? He said, turning his flashlight toward the closet. Someone here. Emily, sensing the distraction, tried to run for the door. Lucas was quicker, grabbing her by the arm and throwing her onto the bed. Don't move, he ordered, pointing the gun at her as he slowly stepped toward the closet. If someone's there, come out now or I'll shoot Emily. Nathan knew he had no choice. Carefully, he opened the closet door and stepped out, hands raised. Nathan, Emily exclaimed, a mix of relief and terror on her face. Well, well, Lucas sneered, now aiming the gun at Nathan. If it isn't the devoted husband, we finally meet for real, dear brother-in-law. Lucas, Nathan said, keeping his voice calm despite his racing heart. Don't make this worse. Put the gun down. Worse? Lucas laughed. Things can't get worse for me. I've committed fraud, forgery, kidnapping, maybe even homicide, depending on how they classify using that homeless woman's body. One more murder won't make a difference. You're not a murderer, Lucas, Emily pleaded, trying to soothe him. I've known you since we were kids. This isn't you. You don't know me, Lucas snapped, his gun hand trembling. No one really knows me. I've spent my whole life being good cousin Lucas, reliable Lucas. Nobody ever saw who I really am, what I really feel. I see you, Nathan said, trying to buy time while he figured out how to disarm him. I see someone who made bad decisions but can still do the right thing. Lucas laughed bitterly. The right thing? What's that? Go to prison while you get to keep her. No thanks. I'd rather end this now. He aimed the gun straight at Nathan's head. Emily screamed. Just then, something small and fast burst out of the closet. Liam, who had stayed hidden. He ran forward and bit Lucas's leg hard. Lucas cried out in pain and surprise, momentarily distracted. It was all Nathan needed. He lunged, slamming into Lucas's arm. The gun went off, the bullet hitting the ceiling. The two men fell to the floor, wrestling for control. Lucas was strong, and adrenaline fueled his desperation. He managed to get on top of Nathan, pressing the gun to Nathan's face. "You should have stayed home mourning your dead wife," Lucas snarled. "Nathan!" Emily shouted. With a desperate move, Nathan shoved Lucas aside and landed a punch to his face. The gun skidded across the floor. Liam, quick as a cat, dove for it and grabbed it first. The boy held the gun with trembling hands, pointing it at Lucas. "Don't move," Liam ordered, his child's voice starkly contrasting with the gravity of the situation. Lucas, seeing himself disarmed and at the mercy of a kid, let out a hysterical laugh. This is how it ends, defeated by a street kid. Nathan got to his feet, panting, and rushed to Emily. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing. "It's okay now," he whispered, holding her tight. "It's over. You're safe." Note: original paragraph numbering in Portuguese text jumps from 546 to 547, without a separate paragraph for 546. We maintain the structure as provided. Lucas tried to stand, but Liam kept the gun trained on him. "Stay where you are," the boy said, "or I'll shoot." "You wouldn't shoot, kid," Lucas taunted. "You don't even know how to use that thing." "Want to bet?" Liam snapped back, sounding more confident than he looked. Nathan grabbed a bedsheet and tore it into strips. "Liam, keep him covered. Emily, can you help me?" Together, they bound Lucas's arms and legs while he alternated between deranged laughter and furious curses. "How you won't get away with this, Lucas," Nathan said, tying the final knot. "You're going to spend a long time in prison." "She'll never love you the way she'd love me," Lucas spat, glaring at Emily. "Never." Emily, pale and trembling, backed away from her cousin. "I never loved you like that, Lucas. You were family. I trusted you." "Emily?" Nathan said gently. "Are you hurt? Did he hurt you?" She shook her head, though her vacant, distant look worried Nathan. She was clearly in shock. "We need to get you to a hospital," he decided, "and hand this lunatic over to the police." "The police won't believe you," Lucas laughed. "I have friends there. Why do you think nobody investigated the accident more closely?" "We have proof now," Nathan retorted, "and witnesses. Your game is over." With Lucas tied up and gagged, Nathan called the private detective he'd hired. Within an hour, state police, brought in from outside the local precinct to avoid any of Lucas's possible accomplices, surrounded the property. Seated at the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket, Emily looked like a shadow of the vibrant woman Nathan remembered. A doctor said she was dehydrated and malnourished, with minor bruises but no major injuries. The psychological trauma, however, would be harder to heal. "He's my cousin," she said softly, watching as the police loaded Lucas in handcuffs into a car. "We grew up together. How could he—" Nathan sat beside her, holding her hand. "Don't try to understand his madness right now. The important thing is you're alive. You're safe." Emily turned to Liam, who stood by the ambulance, observing everything with watchful eyes. "Who is this brave young man?" she asked, a small smile tugging at her lips. "This is Liam," Nathan introduced. "He saved our lives. Actually, he helped me find you from the start." Emily reached out to the boy. "Thank you, Liam. You're a hero." Liam blushed, clearly uncomfortable with the praise. "I just did what was right." While paramedics prepared to take Emily to the hospital, Nathan pulled Liam into a tight hug. "I don't know how to thank you," he said, voice thick with emotion. "You risked your life for us." "You risked yours for her," Liam replied simply. "That's what family does, right?" The word family hit Nathan like a punch. This boy, who had no one in the world, considered them family after just 2 weeks together. A police officer approached Nathan. "Mr. Brooks, we'll need your statement at the station, and the boys too." "Can we do that after my wife is treated at the hospital?" Nathan asked. "Of course," the officer agreed. "But we need to understand exactly what happened here." Nathan looked at Lucas, now being shoved into a police cruiser. The man stared at Emily with a mix of adoration and hatred that made Nathan shudder. As the ambulance pulled away with Emily, the officer left to coordinate the scene, and Nathan was alone with Liam for a moment. "Is she going to be okay?" the boy asked, gazing after the ambulance. "She will," Nathan said, though he wasn't entirely sure. The hollow look in Emily's eyes deeply worried him. "It'll take time, but she'll be okay." Staring at the rundown house where Emily had been held for nearly 2 weeks, Nathan felt a wave of guilt wash over him. Had he not been so absent, so focused on work? Would he have noticed the signs sooner? Could he have detected Lucas's sick obsession, maybe prevented the whole nightmare? "It wasn't your fault," Liam said, as though reading his mind. "That guy was crazy." Nathan gave the boy a sad smile. "Maybe, but I should have been there for her." "Now you can be," Liam said simply. "Both of you can start over." Nathan nodded, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "All 3 of us," he corrected. "If you want that, of course." Liam's eyes widened slightly, but he said nothing. He didn't have to. The small smile that lit up his face said it all. As they walked to the car to follow the ambulance, Nathan took one last look at the farmhouse, where he had almost lost everything. The nightmare was over, but the road to recovery was just beginning. For Emily, for him, and for the boy who had entered their lives at the most improbable moment and become their savior. The guilt and regret were still there, but now there was something else, a chance to start anew, to be the husband Emily deserved and the protector Liam had never had. And that, Nathan thought, was more than he deserved, but exactly what he needed. 3 months had passed since Emily's rescue. Autumn had arrived, painting the trees in the Brooks mansion's garden in shades of red and gold. Nathan watched through the window as Emily and Liam walked across the lawn, gathering fallen leaves. Emily laughed at something the boy said, a sound Nathan feared he might never hear again after her ordeal. The first few weeks after the rescue had been difficult. Emily spent 5 days in the hospital, recovering from dehydration and malnutrition. The bruises on her arms, where Lucas had grabbed her so many times, faded quickly, but the invisible wounds lingered. The doctors insisted on immediate psychological support. Twice a week, Nathan drove Emily to sessions with Dr. Winters, a trauma specialist. For the first few sessions, Emily could hardly speak about what had happened. She sat in silence, staring out the window as if still locked in that dark room. "He was my family," she told Nathan one night, her gaze fixed on the bedroom ceiling. "We grew up together. How did I not see it?" "There was no way for you to know," Nathan replied, holding her hand. Lucas hid his obsession well. Emily's cousin had been formally charged with multiple crimes: kidnapping, forgery, abuse of a corpse, fraud. The police discovered he did indeed have accomplices in the department, 2 officers who took bribes to ignore inconsistencies in the records. All faced trial. On another particularly bad night, Emily woke up screaming, her body covered in cold sweat. Nathan held her until the trembling stopped. "I dreamed I was still there," she whispered, "that nobody found me, that I stayed in that room forever." "You're safe now," Nathan murmured into her hair. "We're together. Nobody will hurt you again." But it wasn't just the nightmares. Loud noises startled her. She avoided going out alone. Dr. Winters explained these were normal symptoms of PTSD, but knowing that didn't ease the pain. "Will she get better?" Nathan asked the therapist during a joint session. "She will," Dr. Winters assured him with gentle confidence. "Emily is exceptionally resilient, but recovery isn't linear. There will be good days and bad days." And there were. Some days Emily almost seemed like her old self, enthusiastic and engaged. Other days she couldn't get out of bed, weighed down by memories. While Emily struggled to rebuild her sense of safety, another question loomed: Liam's future. Technically, the boy should have gone back into the foster system after the rescue, but Nathan requested permission to keep him temporarily, arguing the child was a key witness and had formed a bond with him. The social worker, Mrs. Martinez, impressed by Liam's role in the rescue and noting his clear well-being at the Brooks home, agreed to a provisional arrangement. "He's thriving with you," Mrs. Martinez said during her 3rd visit. "I've never seen him so open." It was true. The Liam who arrived at the Brooks mansion, guarded, always on alert, speaking minimally, gradually opened up. He told stories of his adventures on the streets during dinner, asked about books he found in the library, and even hummed while taking a shower. For a child who had learned invisibility as a survival strategy, these were huge signs of trust. Now, watching Emily and Liam in the garden, Nathan knew it was time to make the temporary arrangement permanent. "They look good together," said Margaret, who had visited to bring Emily some items from her apartment. "Yes," Nathan agreed. "Liam has been like an anchor for her, for both of us actually." Margaret watched them outside. Emily was showing Liam how to make a bouquet out of the colorful leaves, and the boy imitated her with serious concentration. "Did you know she talks to him about the kidnapping?" Margaret commented. "Emily told me sometimes she can talk to Liam about things she can't share with me or Dr. Winters." "Really?" Nathan asked, surprised. "I think it's because he was there," Margaret explained. He doesn't have to imagine or pity her, and he understands her fear in a way we can't." "What's going to happen to him now?" Margaret asked. "It's still a temporary arrangement, right?" Nathan hesitated. "I've been thinking about that a lot." Margaret looked at her brother-in-law, noticing the intensity in his gaze. "You want to adopt him, don't you?" "I think so," Nathan admitted. "But I'm not sure Emily's ready. She's still so fragile." "Have you talked to her about it?" "I haven't found the right moment." Margaret smiled, placing a hand on Nathan's shoulder. "Maybe there's no perfect moment, but I think you'd be surprised by her strength." That night, after Liam had gone to bed, Nathan found Emily on the back porch, wrapped in a blanket despite the mild evening. It was a habit she'd developed since the rescue, seeking warmth, as though she could never fully banish the cold of that abandoned room. "Can I join you?" he asked. Emily smiled, making room for him on the garden bench. "Sure." They sat in silence for a few minutes, gazing at the stars. Nathan noticed Emily seemed calmer than in recent weeks, her face less tense. "How was today's session?" he finally asked. "Better," Emily replied. "Doctor Winters says I'm making progress." Emily rested her head on his shoulder, another small victory. At first, she'd flinched from physical contact. "Nathan," she said softly, "we need to talk about Liam." His heart pounded. "What about him?" "The social worker called me this afternoon. The temporary period is ending. They want a decision on where he goes. What do you think?" Nathan asked carefully. Emily was quiet for a moment. Then she straightened, looking at Nathan intently. "He can't go back into the system. Not after everything he's been through. Everything he's done for us." "I agree," Nathan said, relief washing over him. "But I'm scared," Emily continued in a near whisper. "What if I can't handle it? What if I'm not a good mother to him? I'm still so broken, Nathan." Nathan took her hands in his. "Emily, you're not broken. You're healing. And Liam is healing too. Maybe you can heal together. He deserves someone strong, someone stable. What if my flashbacks scare him? What if I get worse?" "Liam has seen more darkness than most adults," Nathan said gently, "and somehow he still has this light inside him. Maybe he doesn't need us to shield him from reality. Maybe we just have to love him through it." Tears sparkled in Emily's eyes. "You want to adopt him, make him officially part of our family?" "Yes," Nathan replied without hesitation. "From the moment he walked into your funeral with your ring, something changed in me. And after all we've been through together, I can't imagine life without him." Emily wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "He brought me a drawing yesterday. It showed a house with 3 people in front. 'This is our family,' he said. 'You, Nathan, and me. Like it was the most natural thing in the world.' For him, it is," Nathan said. "He never really had a family, at least not since he lost his mom and grandma. But he still believes in it. He believes in us." "Can we do this?" Emily asked, her voice torn between fear and hope. "Raise a child, after everything that's happened?" "I think we can try," Nathan answered. "If you want to. If you're ready." Emily took a deep breath, looking at the house where Liam slept peacefully in one of the guest rooms. "I'm not sure I'll ever be completely ready. But waiting until I'm perfect might mean waiting forever." She squeezed Nathan's hand. "Let's try. Let's adopt him." The next morning, over breakfast, Nathan and Emily watched Liam devour his pancakes with the enthusiasm of someone who'd known real hunger. In the 3 months living with them, he'd gained weight, his once hollow cheeks now fuller, and his skin had a healthier color. "Liam," Nathan began, exchanging a glance with Emily, "we need to talk to you about something important." The boy stopped eating, instantly alert, a habit from his street days, always bracing for bad news. "Okay," he said cautiously. "You know, Ms. Martinez, the social worker, has been visiting to see how you're doing," Emily said gently. "She's gonna take me away?" Liam asked directly, his sharp eyes sensing the tension. "No," Nathan replied quickly. "Actually, it's the opposite. Emily and I want to know how you'd feel if we adopted you, legally, so you can stay with us for good." Liam blinked, processing the words. For a moment, his face remained impassive, that neutral mask he'd perfected to survive. Then slowly, tears filled his eyes. "You want to be my parents? Forever?" Emily stood and knelt beside his chair. "Yes, we do, if you want that. But why?" The boy's question was heartbreaking, revealing how little he believed he deserved love. "Because you're special, Liam," Nathan said, joining Emily. "Because you're brave and kind and smart. Because you're already part of our family, even without papers. And because we love you," Emily added simply. Liam looked from one to the other, searching for any hint of a lie. Then, in a rare show of emotion, he flung his arms around Emily's neck and began to sob. "I want it," he mumbled between sobs. "I really do." Nathan wrapped them both in an embrace, tears blurring his own vision. For the first time since Emily's kidnapping, the Brooks mansion felt like a true home again. The adoption process turned out to be more complicated than they expected. As Nathan had feared, there were bureaucratic hurdles. The system preferred placing children with families that hadn't experienced recent trauma. Emily's kidnapping, Liam's involvement in the rescue, everything raised red flags among cautious social workers. "They worry it's an emotional decision, not a rational one," explained the family attorney they hired. "We have to prove you're stable and fit to raise a child." That meant more interviews, psychological evaluations, and surprise visits from social workers. For Emily, each new intrusion tested her fragile sense of security. There were days she locked herself in the bedroom after a visit, unable to cope with the stress. "Maybe they're right," she told Nathan after one particularly hard assessment. "Maybe I'm not ready." "Emily," Nathan said, sitting beside her on the bed, "you're in therapy, you're improving every day, and most importantly, Liam adores you. He feels safe with you. What if I have a breakdown in front of him? What if the nightmares get worse? Then we deal with it together," Nathan said firmly. "Like a family." Lucas's trial added to the pressure. Emily had to testify, recounting her ordeal before a packed courtroom. Lucas was sentenced to 15 years, with possible parole after 10. For Emily, the sentence brought relief, but also an odd emptiness. Justice had been served, but it couldn't erase what happened. "How do you feel?" Nathan asked on the drive back from court. "Free," Emily answered after a moment's reflection. "Like I can finally start looking forward, not back." As the adoption case moved slowly forward, daily life settled into a routine. Liam was enrolled in the local school, adapting remarkably well despite his patchy educational past. A social worker attributed it to his natural intelligence and new stability. "He's blossomed with you," she said during a visit. "It's rare to see such a positive transition in a child who's been through what he has." With Dr. Winter's encouragement, Emily began working part-time at an arts foundation, something she'd always wanted to do but never had time for when busy being the perfect wife of a successful businessman. The work gave her a sense of purpose that aided her recovery. Nathan drastically reduced his work hours, delegating more at Brooks Enterprises. 3 nights a week, he came home in time for dinner with Emily and Liam. Fridays were now family movie night, with Liam choosing the film. One night, after a particularly vivid nightmare, Emily found Liam sitting at her bedside. "You were screaming," he said simply. "Want me to get Nathan?" Emily, still trembling, shook her head. "He took a sleeping pill." "Better not wake him," Liam nodded, showing a maturity beyond his years. "Want me to stay with you for a bit?" The offer was so simple and sincere, it brought tears to Emily's eyes. That would be good, she replied. The boy sat beside her, propping himself against the pillows. When I had nightmares on the street, I used to look at the stars, he said. It made me feel less alone. Did you have lots of nightmares? Emily asked gently. Every night at first, Liam admitted. After my grandma died, I dreamed I was lost and no one could find me. And now, Liam smiled shyly. Now I mostly dream about good things, about us doing normal stuff, like a real family. Emily felt tears returning. We are a real family, Liam. Or we will be once the paperwork is done. Papers don't make a family, Liam said with childlike wisdom. People do. Emily hugged the boy, marveling at how someone so young, who had suffered so much, could have such a clear view of what truly mattered. That night, she had no more nightmares. Over the following months of waiting, they hit setbacks. One evaluator recommended against the adoption, citing Emily's recent trauma as a risk factor. Nathan's attorney appealed, and another evaluation was ordered. The possibility of losing Liam to the system loomed over them like a dark cloud. What if they take him from us? Emily asked one night, her voice shaking with fear. They won't, Nathan promised, though he wasn't certain. I'll hire the best lawyers, use every resource we have. I don't want to go back, Liam said calmly, surprising them by entering the room. Apparently, he'd overheard, to the shelter or another family. I want to stay here. Emily opened her arms and Liam rushed into her embrace. We'll fight for you, she promised, with everything we have. Time passed, and slowly, the assessments began to tip in their favor. Emily's therapist wrote a positive report about her progress. Liam's teachers documented his remarkable academic and social development. Even Ms. Martinez, the social worker, became an active advocate for the adoption. 6 months after starting the process, the day of the final adoption hearing arrived. The courtroom was decorated cheerfully, a common practice for adoption finalizations, the lawyer explained. Liam wore his first suit, bought just for the occasion, looking both proud and uncomfortable in the formal attire. Emily clutched Nathan's hand as the judge reviewed the final paperwork. Her therapy had progressed significantly over the past months. Though nightmares still came occasionally, they no longer paralyzed her with fear. Dr. Winters had recently mentioned post-traumatic growth, when someone not only recovers from trauma, but finds new strength and purpose through it. After reviewing all the documents and reports, the judge announced, I'm pleased to grant this adoption. As of today, Liam is officially Liam Brooks, son of Nathan and Emily Brooks. The room erupted in applause. Margaret, in the front row, snapped photos like crazy. Ms. Martinez beamed with genuine delight. Even the usually stoic lawyer looked moved. Liam, however, stood as if in shock, staring at the certificate the judge handed him. Are you okay? Emily asked softly. It's real now, the boy whispered. It's official. I have a family. Nathan knelt in front of him. You'll always have a family, Liam. Always. That evening, they returned home to find Margaret had organized a small surprise party. The living room was decked with balloons and a banner that read, Welcome to the family, Liam Brooks. Close friends, some of Liam's schoolmates, even Dr. Winters all came to celebrate. For Nathan, seeing his house full of life again felt almost surreal. For so long, the mansion had been an empty space, a symbol of his professional success and personal failure. Now it was filled with laughter and conversation. At one point, Nathan noticed Emily had disappeared. He found her on the back porch, looking out at the garden lit by fairy lights Margaret had hung. Everything okay? He asked, adjoining her. Better than okay, Emily replied, smiling. I just needed a moment to take it all in. It's almost hard to believe we're here, isn't it, after everything that happened? Nathan nodded, understanding perfectly. Sometimes I'm afraid I'll wake up and find I'm still at your funeral, staring at that coffin. And I'm afraid I'll wake up in that dark room, Emily admitted. But then I see you both, and I know I'm safe, that we're all safe now. The door opened, and Liam appeared, carrying 3 glasses of what looked like champagne. Margaret says we need a toast, he explained, handing them the glasses. Mine is just sparkling apple juice, he added with a mischievous grin. Nathan took his glass, looking at his wife and his son, with a heart overflowing with gratitude. "What shall we toast to?" Emily asked. "Family," Liam suggested immediately. "Our family." "To family," Nathan agreed, raising his glass. "And to new beginnings," Emily added, her eyes shining not with pain, but with happiness. The three glasses clinked softly, sealing a silent promise. The past, with all its pain and betrayal, would be remembered but not define them. The future, uncertain as ever, would be faced together. Liam, whose courage saved Emily. Emily, whose strength inspired Nathan. Nathan, whose determination brought them all together in the most unlikely way. Three people fate had entwined in the darkest of times. As they returned to the party, Nathan glanced once more at the starry sky above. Sometimes, he thought, the brightest light is found only after the deepest darkness. And sometimes, the strongest families are forged not by blood, but by the deliberate choice to love one another, day after day, no matter the circumstances. The Brooks mansion, once merely a house, had finally become a home.